UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is backing up other European leaders' push to persuade President Donald Trump not to abandon Ukraine in pursuit of a peace deal in the three-year-old war with Russia during his visit to Washington Thursday. According to Associated Press, Starmer's trip is happening the same week that French President Emmanuel Macron spoke to Trump in the White House to salvage American support for Kiev. Starmer, reluctant to openly confront Trump, speaks of being a bridge between Europe and the US administration. Macron has more strongly criticized Trump's recent statements that echo Russia's narrative and American moves to negotiate with Moscow while sidelining Ukraine. The dual trips to DC come after Macron called a crisis meeting of European leaders in Paris last week to discuss the continent's next steps, and after Trump on Friday claimed Macron and Starmer haven't done anything over the past 3 years to end the war. The centrist French leader, known for his bold diplomatic moves, says he'll seek to persuade Trump that American and European interests are the same, telling him, if you let Russia take over Ukraine, it would be unstoppable. Starmer, a cautious center-left politician, has avoided directly contradicting Trump or criticizing his actions. The UK joined the US in refusing to sign a joint declaration at an artificial intelligence summit hosted by Macron in Paris this month in what was seen as an attempt to curry favor with Washington. But the Prime Minister has reaffirmed Britain's support for Ukraine, rejecting Trump's assertion that Zelensky is a dictator and the president's suggestion that Kiev started the war, which erupted when Russia invaded its neighbor on February 24, 2022. Starmer spoke to Zelenski on Saturday, expressing the UK's ironclad support for Ukraine and commitment to securing a just and enduring peace. He said he would stress safeguarding Ukraine's sovereignty when he speaks to Trump in Washington.
The special relationship between the United States and Great Britain will be tested this week when Prime Minister Starmer makes his first visit to President Trump in Washington. A big issue is going to be the future of the war in Ukraine. Trump has signaled a radical shift in U.S. policy towards Ukraine. He's much more aligned with Russia, which invaded Ukraine 3 years ago, than his predecessor, Joe Biden, who said that the United States should stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes to beat back the invasion. Trump wants to bring a fast end to the war, and European leaders are rattled by this realignment of Washington's loyalties. Right now, we've seen a round robin of diplomacy. First, French President Emmanuel Macron visited Washington, next Prime Minister Starmer. So they're all trying to figure out how to get on the same page with Trump, given the United States' paramount role in guaranteeing European security since the days of the Cold War, and figuring out how they can all move forward at the same time.
President Trump, do you have a message for Pope Francis, sir, who's still in the hospital? Do you have a message for Pope Francis, sir?
We don't see you.
Yes, it's true, President Trump thinks we should do more, and I agree with him. It chimes with my thinking on this. And by more, I mean more capability, I mean more coordination, and I need more spending.
I think that President Putin and President Zelensky are going to have to get together, because you know what? We want to stop killing millions of people. You have young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer committed to raise UK defence spending to 2.5% of gross domestic product by 2027, saying Tuesday that Europe is in a new era of insecurity. According to Associated Press, the UK currently spends 2.3% of gross domestic product on defence, and the government had previously set a 2.5% target, without setting a date. Starmer told lawmakers that the increase amounts to an additional £13.4 billion a year. He said the goal is for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP by 2035. To pay for it, overseas development aid will be slashed from 0.5% to 0.3% of national income, he said. Starmer said that his announcement amounted to the biggest sustained increase in defense spending since the end of the Cold War, and necessary because tyrants like Putin only respond to strength. The announcement came as European countries scramble to bolster their collective defense as US President Donald Trump transforms American foreign policy, seemingly sidelining Europe as he looks to quickly end the war in Ukraine. Trump has long questioned the value of NATO and complained that the US provides security to European countries that don't pull their weight. Starmer is due to meet with Trump at the White House on Thursday. The Prime Minister has offered to send British troops to Ukraine as part of a force to safeguard a ceasefire, but says an American backstop will be needed to ensure a lasting peace. Trump hasn't committed to providing security guarantees for Ukraine. "We must stand by Ukraine, because if we do not achieve a lasting peace, then the economic instability and threats to our security, they will only grow," Starmer said. And so as the nature of that conflict changes, as it has in recent weeks, it brings our response into sharper focus, a new era that we must meet as we have so often in the past, together, and with strength.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by giving my... Russia is a menace in our waters, in our airspace, and on our streets. They've launched cyber attacks on our NHS. Only 7 years ago, a chemical weapons attack on the streets of Salisbury. We must stand by Ukraine, because if we do not achieve a lasting peace, then the economic instability, the threats to our security, they will only grow. Mr. Speaker, I want to be very clear. The nature of warfare has changed. As the nature of that conflict changes, as it has in recent weeks, it brings our response into sharper focus. A new era that we must meet, as we have so often in the past, together and with strength. First, NATO is the bedrock of our security and will remain so. It has brought peace for 75 years. It is as important today as the day on which it was founded. Putin thought he would weaken NATO. He's achieved the exact opposite. And it remains the organisation that receives the vast bulk of our defence effort in every domain, and that must continue. So this week, when I meet President Trump, the US is our most important bilateral alliance. It straddles everything from nuclear technology to NATO to Five Eyes, AUKUS and beyond. It survived countless external challenges in the past. We fought wars together with the closest partners in trade, growth and security. So this week, when I meet President Trump, I will be clear. I want this relationship to go from strength to strength. We'll do everything we can to return to a world where that is not the case and rebuild a capability. So starting today, I can announce this government will begin the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. Yeah. We will deliver our commitment to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence, but we will bring it forward so that we reach that level in 2027. I hope that that is common ground. But what I'm doing here is, in addition to the 2.5%, which is the increase in defence spend as it's always been understood, is to recognise that the nature of the threats to our country are different now, and that the security and intelligence services play a key part for us and for our allies in our defence, and that takes the total to 2.6. She asked me if we're going to tax to pay for the 2.5%. Or to borrow to pay for the 2.5%? The answer to that is no, which is why I've set out precisely pound for pound how we will pay for it today. That has meant a very difficult decision on overseas development, a very difficult decision, and not a decision that I wanted to take.
Leader of the opposition,